Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be back with you. Took a little week's vacation, as Tim said, and went to visit some friends in Santa Barbara. We lived in Santa Barbara for 6 years before we went to Hawaii for 14 months, and so we still have friends there. I was the minister of that Unity Church in Santa Barbara. And I attended a wedding, and it was someone I knew very well. And I got to watch my ego. You ever get to watch your ego kind of go off? Because as I was watching this, I didn't know who was going to be doing be the officiant for this wedding. I knew it wasn't me. I had received no notice ahead of time, but I was very curious. And when the person got up, who was sitting in the front row and to start the wedding, I realized it was the previous minister of Unity of Santa Barbara. So I got to say, how come she gets to do it and I don't? So I got to play that out for a while before I sat back and appreciated this precious moment and celebrating the love that these two had and how beautiful this ceremony was that she did. And by the time she got done with the ceremony, I said, she picked exactly the right person. I would not have been able to create that, and she had made a friend of mine had made the right choice. But it's just so interesting, just we do all our work, and then in a moment we just find ourselves just in our head, just arguing and resisting and making it all about us, when like in a moment like that, it's not about me at all. It's about celebrating this event. So anyway, just to give you an update that I am very much a human, and I have my human reactions, and on we go, and doesn't keep us from going back to the well of our truth. And in fact, I think I recently heard that Thomas Keating, who was a teacher of centering prayer, the first time this woman tried it, she said, I'm a complete failure at this. She was telling him, she said, I'm a complete failure, because in that 20 minutes I must have had 1,000 thoughts in my head instead of being in my center. And he said, well, how marvelous. He said that you had 1,000 opportunities to return to God. Right? And that's really it. It isn't how often we forget. It's just how soon we remember. This is what the Buddha said. That, there's going to be there's going to be this cycle of forgetting and remembering. And in the remembering is, it's this beautiful experience of peace that we get to come back to. It's a homecoming experience. It can be glorious, and if we don't go away, then we don't have the experience of coming back. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be lovely to live in the heart of God every moment of time. I certainly know that is a possibility. It may not be what happens in this lifetime for me or for some of us. But the truth is, we already are there. And really, it's the journey we take with our mind that has us believing that we're separate from this presence, this power, this love. And it's that journey that it needs to be seen through as the illusion of separation. It's not the reality of separation, but it sure feels like it. If we're not feeling peaceful, we're not feeling love, we're not feeling whole and complete, we're not feeling enough. It can feel like we really are separate from this presence, this power, this love, and this life that we call God. And our experience oftentimes, presents itself as our reality. And that's why we have to raise the veil, because raising the veil is for us to move out of our head that gives us a false impression of life, of reality, of the world, and to move into our heart space where we feel the knowing of the truth as opposed to some concept which always leaves us wanting and lacking and yearning. So today it's really, the daily word is about a week early from what I was planning, because next week I'm going to kick off a series on letting go and letting God. And so I'll probably pull that out again and use it. But today I wanted to talk about a particular time zone that I think we are all in, but we don't remember. Like, what time zone are we in right now?
Pacific Time.
Daylight time, right? Yeah. Right. And across the land, across the world, people are in different time zones. And all those time zones, are relative time zones, right? Because right now, we're all in the same time zone, right? We're all in what moment?
Present.
The present moment. But are we always present in the present moment? No. And so that's my premise for today, is that more than even getting life to change, it would be even better if we could just be in this present moment with whatever is going on in our life. And again, that flies in the face of how our minds work. The way our minds work, our dualistic minds, is that we are looking for some objective experience. We're invested in the objective experiences of our life as a source of our what? Happiness. Love, sense of well-being, sense of wholeness. And it is our investment in objective experiences that robs us of the experience of happiness that is where? That's when. It's now, and it's here. And so I wanted to talk a little bit today about mindfulness, because even though I'm talking about the heart and being in the heart, mindfulness is what really gives us the capacity to notice where we are, what time zone we're in, where our thoughts are, where our beliefs are, what we're expecting life to be. And it moves us back into a conscious awareness that can tell us why we're suffering, if we're suffering. And mindfulness, I had to get a couple of definitions for you. We all have our own sense of what it might be, but I like these, so I'm going to share them with you. So this is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Right? Because we're familiar with the getting carried away part of it. Because whatever's in our mind, oftentimes we go on a little journey and we think about what's going on, and we make up a story, we interpret it, we think if that's going on, that means this, and we project the future based upon what we think is going on. So in other words, we don't just observe things objectively, we observe them through the filter of our conditioning, right? And so that is a journey apart from the moment. That's going too far with mindfulness. And story making is really what we enjoy doing more than anything else. And then from mindfulness.org, this is this one. It says, I said that already, I'm sorry. And so, okay. I missed something from my notes here. I'm trying to tie it together for us. I'm just going to read it because I know what it means. So this whole idea that it maybe seem trivial that we're not aware of what's going on, but the knowing fact that we so often veer from the matter at hand, our mind takes flight, we lose touch with our body, and pretty soon we're engrossed in these obsessive thoughts about something that happened, or we're fretting about the future, and that makes us what? Anxious, right? Right. So Tara Brach is a meditation teacher. She's from the Buddhist tradition. And she says there's two wings to mindfulness that are very important. And the first one is you have to pause. You have to pause. And that just means that you just stop if you can. Of course, it's intentional. We're starting with intention. You say to your mind, okay, just take a time out. because you can just tell your mind is going off, right, with these thoughts, and you're projecting and you're making up stories, just to pause. Because when you pause, you access a part of your awareness that is overlooked. Awareness is that capacity to just notice what's going on without labeling it, without making any meaning out of it, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to be more of an objective observer. And then you begin to notice what's going on with you, and you may notice, if it's an anxious feeling you're having, you may notice, rumblings in your stomach, you may tension in your chest, you may feel your body's tightening up. If you're angry, you might feel like your ears are getting red, and there's a heat in your body. In other words, you notice these things as one who is just observing them, and that does what? That puts a little buffer between you and what's going on, so that you don't get lost, you don't lose your identity in the experience that you're having. So that creates a buffer so that there is you, the observer, and then the experience that you're having. What happens when we're unconscious and we allow ourselves to be, not be in the present moment, is we go into the story, and the story identifies us as the one that is angry. So I am angry. We create our identity, we equate our identity with our feeling. And when we do that, we go down the rabbit hole. We're lost. We no longer have the ability to make a healthy choice, right? So what we want to do is we want to stay in that seat of awareness as much as we can, because from there we can be in this heart space where we can make wise choices and wise decisions. Does that make sense? So that's, the goal of spirituality is obviously to move into the truth of your being. But we may have to do that through these steps, and that's why these practices are useful for us as we work our way back to this truth of our being by taking steps that sort of arrest the conditioned mind that would take us on these far-off journeys into places where we suffer. So you have to pause, and she calls pausing she calls them sacred pauses, and she says these can be lifesavers, and they really can be lifesavers, because if you think of all the times when you've really suffered, you didn't pause, right? You got carried away by a thought, and that led to a feeling and a story, and you were in hell because you had not separated yourself from the experience you were having. She says, if you can just pause, you get more access to your intelligence and your heart. In fact, we could even call that the intelligent heart or the wise heart. I think in Buddhism they refer to the heart as the wise heart. In other words, it isn't just the heart and the seat of emotions, but is the spiritual perception. It's that part of you that can see the truth amidst the illusions of life. That you hold on to this sense of wholeness and well-being, even though your human self is experiencing something that feels like you're being diminished in some way, or being threatened in some way. And it's not that we deny these appearances and these challenges that we have in our life, but we don't get lost in them. We don't give our whole sense of self over to them. We stay as far back as we can in noticing what's going on and retaining our wisdom, retaining our perspective, retaining the grand perspective of the truth of our being, which is way more spacious and way more expansive than the surface mind that immediately judges and labels, condemns, and imprisons us. Yes?
Yes.
So you can say, if I pause, then I can find out what's going on, instead of seeing if you can know what's going on in those moments that you feel triggered when you're feeling irritable and judgmental. So this is something that I I have done in my life, and that's, I would say, the quickest way for us to move out of that place of suffering and imprisonment is when we can do this pause. And anybody can do it. You don't have to be an enlightened person. You can be brand new on the spiritual path. As long as you understand that the pause is not the answer, but the pause is to put you in a perspective where you can see things as they really are without judgment. And then you can invite your higher self, the heart, in order to be with life as it is, not as your mind makes it up to be. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. Yes, good. So I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you more of an experience of this than just keep talking about it, because without experience then it just becomes one more head trip for you. Yes?